Test, test. Okay, you guys should be able to hear me. I don't think I have that too loud. That should be pretty good. Alright. Where are we at here? So, let's make sure you guys got me on both sides over here. Yep. And let me make sure that you guys can see me. Let's make that part 5. Alright. Bobby Tom, hey, how's it going? We are not working too hard tonight. We're just kind of hanging out, and I'm putting together... Whoa. What happened there? Something talked. Let's see what's happening over here. It's interesting. My little thing said Japanese neural pitch, welcome, WebSocket, hey, hey. Oh, yeah, I definitely don't want that. Amazon Poly Japanese. That's not good. WebSocket, hey het. Okay, I got to figure out why that is going off in my little speaker bot. So give me a second here. Because I definitely don't want chat, everything that's said, coming out like that. So let me go see here. Let's go check the speaker bot. What's he doing? What's going on here? Events. Like a normal message, I wouldn't think would do any of that stuff. Channel settings. Okay, that's fine. Just need to make sure that a normal message doesn't seem like a normal message would do anything. Give me a second here, guys. Trying to figure some stuff out here. And yeah, that doesn't make any sense. What triggered that? Alright, hold on real quick, guys. I'm trying to figure something out over here with... Like, that would be like a normal talk. Normal message here. I don't see anything where that's not a custom command. What's causing that? I can see the event that was processed right here. It was Japanese Takumi, but that doesn't make any sense why that would have said something. Alright, so now there's one in the queue because of what just happened on YouTube. Somebody said something. So, unsupported long form feature. Well, that makes sense because I didn't want it to talk. Quick question about relocating to another state for a job. What would be an ideal amount of time to relocate if they asked me for an interview? Or in an interview, willing to relocate, but I've never done it before. I mean, most companies would probably reasonably give you a couple extra weeks, I would think. I've only ever relocated for military, and they tend to give you a couple weeks. So I think most companies are pretty reasonable about that. So in that case, that would be 2 weeks of you closing out with your other company, and then probably another 2 weeks on top of that. Why is this? Where is that coming from? So there's no event for just reading a message. Excuse me. So over here, whoops, get that out of the way. Where's this other thing? we shouldn't have anything just for people talking. But hopefully that's a good answer for you. Let me try to find, guys. I'm trying to find what this thing is triggering on these frickin' events for. Hold on, alternate background, show timestamps, enter dark mode, sync settings. It shouldn't be any of those. General. Yeah, see, I don't know why this is reading literally everything. I don't know if you guys can hear that, but it's reading every single thing that's being said. And that doesn't make any sense because... Oh, it's triggering for first words? I don't think you guys are first words. Even then, that doesn't even make sense because that doesn't fall into one of these. We got a Amazon Polly as our speech gate. Okay. Speaking options. That's funny. User profile set. I don't want just normal talking. That's what didn't read the other one for. Got the WebSocket stuff. That's all fine. Got that. Got that. It shouldn't be saying everything. Let's get most messages on that. Permissions. Nobody's saying any of those. Huh. Well, that doesn't make any sense because there's nothing. There's nothing here. That says that every single thing that people say should be coming through here. That doesn't make any sense. There's nothing set to do that. Oh, nothing in here. Speak generic. Definitely not just a regular. Yeah, I don't know. We'll worry about that stuff later. All right. So what we were doing the other day, yesterday, in fact, last night, we were kind of going through some job requirement stuff, and we were also looking at our Socratic method, which is what I technically have up on the board there. So we could keep walking through the Socratic method type stuff, and could have sworn I had that. I don't know where that went. Yeah, Socratic Linux answers. And we were right here in the what users have logged into a system in the last 24 hours. So I guess the next thing is we'll just figure out what other things are going on here. I'm going to have to figure out why this is queuing for every single command that's messaged. I don't see what would cause that right now. But... Oh, wait, hold on. There it is. That's what it is. I'm going to unenable this. That's what it is. All right. Can somebody send a message again? I don't know if somebody minds is just type in test or something. That's what was doing it. This was just randomly running speaker bot commands through the system because I had any chat message, and that's not what I wanted it to be. I only want it to trigger on certain commands. So the commands should be what trigger the system. All right. I see what I did wrong. I see now what's wrong. All right. No messages? All right. Well, we'll go with what we have then. I'll go with what I got. I won't worry about this other stuff. All right. Move this somewhere out of the way here. All right. So can you tell me what PID is listening to port 22 on your system? And for a bonus, I guess, can you tell me how it was started and what software started it? And if you really wanted to, can you give me the version of that software? That's what the question's asking us right here. Is our system listening on port 22? Looks like it is. Here's port 22, and here's port 22 right here. So something's listening to it. Can I tell what the process ID of that is? Do I know what that is? Can I tell what that software is? Here's the PID right here. But can I tell how it was started on my system? Hey, how's it going? Where are my teeth? Hopefully this stuff's useful to you guys. We're playing around right now with, I was doing some text-to-speech stuff again. I think I got it working the way I want now. Actually, I think it'll do, we'll see. We'll see if it does some of the things. Am I teaching in spring? Yeah, I'm teaching right now, actually. I'm teaching, I got a college class. Got 2 college classes this quarter. They're Tuesday and Wednesday nights. You start on Tuesday? Nice. Mohammed over on YouTube said, can I have access to this PowerPoint? Yeah, this PowerPoint's up on our Discord. So for you guys that want our Discord, you pop up in here and you go down to our, I believe this is in presentations. And you scroll up a little bit in presentations. And here is the answers. And here's the PowerPoint right there. So that's it right there. 17 hours this semester will be fun. Yeah. You know, where my teeth, I think the thing about going to school is you just got to get back into a kind of like a groove with it without trying to sound too corny. You know, I have to put in discussion posts every day for my college students. I have to get in there and do my, I got to do my grading. I actually still have to grade for this last week. But I got to do all my grading. I have to just organize things, right? So it's just you get into a habit of what you have to do. And that's kind of a nice thing. But yeah, Tuesday's good. That means that you got to start after the break. You get to start after the holiday or whatever. So that's good. Plan a schedule for an admin course from this past fall semester. Nice. Nice. Where are my teeth? Good. So, okay. So let's check this out. Can we figure out, we've got this SSHD, Damon, that was what's listening. So we could do a few things. We could do a PS-EF and look for SSHD, and maybe we find it that way. And maybe what we see here listening is the same port of 853, and maybe it's not, right? We don't see 853 right here. So then we go, where else might we find that SSHD? We can do a system CTL, and by itself, it'll just dump a bunch of stuff to the screen, and we can grep SSH from that, and there's our SSHD service, so we can do a system CTL status SSHD, and maybe we find that that main PID is not the same one that we have on our system right here that's listening. So that is, I wonder if my SSH just restarted, but there it is. There's that process ID. Did that restart somehow? I swear somebody else is on this box with me. I saw somebody else on that box on there earlier. Where are my teeth? Yeah, the LLM's working. I need to build the part that drops the when you guys do the ask command in, and it would ask and then drop in. That's the last little part that I have to do, and then if I did all that, then yeah, it would be done. I figured I wouldn't do it on stream because I had thought to, and then I was like, I'll just get in and start doing some Linux. I think people appreciate the Linux more anyways. So, can we tell what's listening on there? Yeah, we've got the, it's super weird, but we've got the process here, and it's 24893, and 24893 maps to that, which is super weird because I swear I just looked at it and it was not. Let's see here. Swear I just looked at it and it's reset. Where's the at? Yeah, he was just 853. So I don't know. Maybe somebody else had hopped on this box when I was on here. I don't know. Looks like there's no users on there now, right? I'm gonna reboot that guy. There's definitely, which is fine, but there's definitely somebody on the lab, which is, you know, fine. I mean, we were in a lab environment. You guys can use the lab, but somebody definitely changed something on that system, which is fine. Again, we just need to. I need to not be on a machine where other people are at. All right. Okay. Okay. All right. Hey, Colcus, how's it going? For my teeth, I built my Mistral LM to be able to scrape the live web with an iteration of my browser, so it will open a new window and I can see its methods of searching the web. Nice. Nice, where my teeth. The one thing that I use, I guess that would be the closest to, I don't even think this is that. I like this app right here, Zotero. If you guys have played with Zotero any. But Zotero will scrape anything that you're looking at on the web, and it'll actually create the bibliography for you in whatever style you want. So like I want a 7th edition APA, and I can come here and I can look at it right there. So I've got this Al-Qahtani MA 2022. That's a pretty good looking APA 7 version of whatever I'm working on. So, all right. Anyways, let's go back here. Let's look at this. Go look at our Rocky node. He should be back up here soon. So we'll go see what's going on over there. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, that was starting to get weird on there, so we cut that off. Al-Qahtani. I don't know what that is. All right, it's gonna take a second. While that's going, can we tell how the SSHD daemon was started on the system? Right. So do we know how it was started? So we're gonna go see how it was started, and how do we know that System D was the one that started it? And we'll go see that here in a second. Al-Qahtani. Oh, that's Zotero. I pulled it up. Where'd he go? Right here. It's called Zotero. And you can do, like, I got doctorate work. I've got some engineering stuff in here. I've got some stuff with my company. When I'm looking for, like, references and I want to be able to reference them properly, this is where I can go and grab them. And the cool thing is I can come in here and search for, like, cyber security. And it'll take me to, oh, this one's about cybersecurity, and then I can go and I can read whatever, and I can even search in here. Here's cybersecurity awareness conducted against students of various ages in New Zealand. So they did some research, and they did it against people in New Zealand or whatever, right? So there's that. All right. So we're going to get in here. We're in Rocky. We can see that the daemon was started. We were also able to SSH into it. Here's its main PID, 804. If we do an SS-NTULP, we will see 804 is what's listening on port 22 here and here. So yes, I can for sure tell that it was started. But can I tell how it was started? Well, I can do systemctl cat sshd, and that'll tell me the file that it used for the systemd daemon to start it. This is what we call a unit, not a unit file, a service file. So it's a .service file, right? There's also .timers. Systemd can run timers, and a lot of people use systemd to as a method for allowing people to use cron, but without giving them cron access. So a lot of times in the industry we don't do, especially if you're working somewhere where users will blow up a lot of memory, like in a high performance compute environment, and they have access to like maybe even hundreds or thousands of boxes, and we don't want them to have a cron job that just keeps kicking stuff off. A lot of times we disable cron, but you can give them access to do systemd stuff. All right, so we can start that. And this is one that's kind of fun. You can do systemd analyze critical chain. When you do this one, you need the full service name, sshd service in this case. And it would be SSH service if you were on a Ubuntu box. But this is everything that started from the time systemd started SSHD. It needed all of these things to come up for it to work, right? And that's a really useful one. Systemd analyze critical chain is such a powerful command to see, because what if something's broken? How would I know? Like if SSHD just isn't on, then well the next one down to go check is, well, is the network manager on? And how did the system know to wait for the network to come up? Well, it's here in the config file. It wants to be after the network and the SSHD keygen target. But down here it should say wants SSHD dash keygen. So, and is after network. So it's always going to come up after the network target, which should be right here, right? So here's the network target. So if this didn't start for some reason, then we would start to work back, right? And one of the things I show you guys to find your broken, so it's SSH is a really if SSH is broken, I couldn't do this. I couldn't SSH in. I would have to go in through the console, right? That's a very important thing to understand as an admin and engineers, how we access our boxes. But if it just did come up and I just was like, man, I think there's something broken on this system, but I'm having a hard time maybe putting my finger on it, it's systemctl. You can just do failed. Somebody showed me this recently. You could just do failed. Or the way that I used to do this is this. You do list units state equals failed. So I'm just going to tell you those are both the same output, but use the one that resonates with you more, right? I think the top one is probably easier to remember. The bottom one is the one that I kind of used to do. You could also do state active. You can do state disabled. You can do anything that functions as a state inside of a systemd file, right? So state failed is nice because if you're in like an old CentOS box like mine, I do have busted stuff in my home lab. I have an old Docker service that probably hasn't been updated in forever. I've got a kdump, I've got an lm_sensors, and I've got an open lava, which is basically platform LSF from like 2014 or something. Like that's an old service. You can't even go pull that off the web anymore, open lava. So it's kind of one of these things where I have just old busted stuff on here, but we can go figure out stuff about it. We can do systemctl cat open lava .service and see how did this want to start. And look, oh, this started from an old the old rc.d files back in the day, and then we would run our RC levels, right? So this is an old one, and in here somewhere there's an open lava start and an open lava stop, which might not even exist anymore, right? I might have, no, these definitely exist, and look, that's the old check config way, oh man, that's old, of doing it. But how does it run? It used to run out of opt open lava, which I don't have in this box anymore. Can we still do run levels on systemd? You can init to different run levels still. They're still mapped back to 0 through 6. one being the functional and 5 being the highest functional, and then 0 being halt and 6 being reboot, or reset. I think it's reboot. Yeah, and then you do need to know, by the way, this one thing that I like to ask in my technical interviews. 1 is single user mode, 2 is multi-user mode, 3 is multi-user mode with networking, 4 is experimental, and 5 is graphical target or graphical user mode, right? And you do need to know those 5 run levels for most modern Linux operating systems. Do you have to be an expert in them? No, but I think you should know what they are. So Dan the SE said, Socratic method, what's the thinking paradigm behind that? So for me, up here on the right, I've got all these questions for you guys, and really what they are is just asking you things, and then you're proving to yourself. You don't have to prove to me, you don't have to prove to anybody else. Do I understand these things? Do I, if I was called out late at night on a Friday or a Saturday night, and I got a call out at 2 a.m., could I answer, and again, I always tell you guys, we're like going through stuff quick, and we're trying to figure things out, and we're testing our assumptions about servers and all these kind of things. And I say, can you tell me how the SSHD daemon was started on the system? Well, hopefully you can, right? And we just went through and looked at a bunch of that stuff. So the next one is, can you list all the kernel modules? So you're on some server here. Can you list all the kernel modules? Could you say if a module, well, let's not do all that. Just start. Can you list all the kernel modules right now? Could you do that? Not seeing anything from anybody. So, easy one, lsmod will tell us what's going on inside the kernel, right? What the modules are that are loaded. You can also see which modules are using them. So if you're trying to remove modules for some reason and they won't remove, like if you can't remove this one, you got to go remove this one first to be able to remove this one, right? But also you got to remember, if you start removing modules for some reason, maybe to test something or to test some functionality, you're probably going to end up having to do some kind of reboot on that system to get it back into a clean state. Not always. I'm just saying, like, pulling modules out of a running enterprise server is not something that we're going to do very often. We're not going to, like, I'm not going to be trying to pull this out on a live system. That's not great. I may do it on like one of my boxes that I'm testing on or building on and those kind of things, like back in my lab before they go live. But I'm not doing, the removal of stuff live. That's not the way that we want to be doing stuff. Okay? This is just one of these things where we kind of want to know how to do it. All right. So, can we list all the kernel modules? Yeah. Can you verify that a file hasn't changed in the last 3 days? So maybe there's some file. I don't know. And can you tell me that file hasn't changed in the last few days? Can you tell me that? Yeah, Dan, what it is instead of me just coming on here and droning on like I sometimes do, and I can drone, right? I can brain dump on people. It's more of like a way for people to kind of test themselves a little bit. Like if you really think about it, this is how all quizzes work, right? As like a college professor, when I give people quizzes, I'm really just kind of having them checkpoint themselves where they're at. And that's kind of what we're doing here. We're just walking through and saying, can I verify that a file hasn't changed? And the use case for this could be, somebody assures you that the server that you're on hasn't been affected or nobody's touched that configuration, it just busted. And you're like, well, the server has only been up for 12 minutes. And before the server came up, 12 of your guys were logged into it at like midnight. 12 of your devs were logged into that server. And you're going to tell me nobody's doing anything there? You sure about that? Right? Doesn't list... Yeah, LL. So LL is an alias typically. And that does show the last time this was modified. That is the same as the last modified date. It should be. For Etsy services. Yeah, June 23rd right here. And then that shows June 23rd. Yep. But by the way, just so you guys know, in case you're like, oh, LL is the way I would do it. LL is perfectly fine, but just know that that's probably set up as an alias for you. If you set up your own alias, it's fine, but not everybody does that. But I just want people to know LL isn't a real command. It's typically an alias. So if you end up being in an environment where somebody strips out all your dot files because they're messing with you, you might have to go set those up or that kind of stuff. And that actually is something that kind of comes up with Linux engineers. They mess with each other sometimes in the different environments. So just look at all this crap. I don't even know what the hell this other stuff is. Jeez, what the hell are these? Is this all new stuff, like newfangled stuff that I have to like shake my fist at the clouds about because I don't know what they are? Yeah, I have no idea what these other aliases are. But the point is, just know that a lot of this stuff, it's aliased, and you can make your own aliases. If you like different aliases, you can add them in. You can build them into your dot files, and that's its own topic and stuff. But you can set up your environment as you like, right? You just have to start learning Bash to be able to do that. LL. I've always saw it to that, but you're probably right. I mean, I don't spend a lot of time in aliases because I told you guys I'm the most vanilla engineer I know. I don't spend a lot of time setting up different environments. So, all right, where are we at here? So there we go. So can you verify that the file hasn't changed? Can you verify the hash of a file before and after you copy it to another server? So I take that same, maybe I do like a stat on Etsy services, right? And I see that file's there, and I want to copy that file back to this node, right? So I want to go over into temp, and I want to SCP from Rocky 5 Etsy services to here. And I see the services file here, and he has some weight to him, right? There's some size to him. But how can I validate that they're exactly the same on both sides? Yeah, you can hash it. I always tell people hashing is not cryptography. It's not actual cryptography. There's no information in it. But there is the information of they're exactly the same. So yeah, I can do an MD5 sum on Etsy services. I can come over here. So watch this. I can clear it. MD5 sum. And I can clear this. And they're the same. See that hash hasn't changed. You can also do things like you could do a cheap one is checksum. This one's a pretty cheap weight. And when I say checksum services, what I mean by cheap is it's not heavy on the processor. It's like not high processor load. And if you really wanted to, you should be able to. What's the name of that? What's the name of that tool? You can actually run that, and we can time it, right? We can obviously time it, and that's fine. But there's another tool out there. Dan the SE said, did you garner this much knowledge from just doing, or you read a manual, or both? Dan, I've been doing Linux engineering for about 22 years. So I probably have picked up most of this just in the wild. I had one college class on it in like 2006 or 2007-ish. Or no, a little before that. It would have been like 2004-ish. Because I was in college from 04 through 06 for this stuff. But no, I learned most of the stuff in the wild. I tell you guys that, but by the way, being in the wild means a whole lot of manning things, right? Read the man pages, right? See how something works. We always talk about RTFM, right? Read the field manual. Read the field manual. That's what you got to go do, right? But that's kind of where I picked a lot of this up. I've been a lead for the last, 12 years or so in the Linux space, where I'm like always in charge of the Linux engineering teams. Now, when I say lead, I mean like tech lead. I'm not a manager. I refuse to do management stuff. Like if somebody tells me like you got to go fire that guy, I'd be like, okay, I'll fire him for you, but I'm not doing the paperwork for him. I'm just kidding. But I would fire somebody if I had to. But anyways, no, I'm just kidding. But can we verify? Yeah, we can do MD5 sums and checksums. Now, our software can also do it for us, right? We can validate things as we move them to different places. I've shown you guys stuff with like tools like Ansible. We could go to push a file somewhere or pull a file somewhere, and then we can validate it with a checksum as well if we know that that's a thing, right? So that one we know how to do that, yeah. And then here's my example. I have examples over here for you guys. Stat and then hashing function. And how about this one? Can you encrypt a text file using VI? You might know how to do that. So I'm on a server. I'm root. And I just want to make a file with VI and I want it to be encrypted. Yeah, so VI-X, encrypted dot text maybe. You don't really need the dot text. Linux is not a respecter of the end of a file. Like, it doesn't really matter what kind of extensions you put on it. But yeah, we can do that, and then I'll put an encryption key of 12345 and 12345, and then I'll say this is my super secret stuff that you can't read. Escape : WQ, and it says it's encrypted with Blowfish 2, which is the algorithm that it used. And then now I cat encrypted dot text, and it's all kinds of busted. And then I VI-X encrypted text, and it says, are you sure? Do you know the key? And I say 12345, 12345, and then it's my super secret stuff that you can't read. Still can't read it because it's still too busted, and then you can go in there. So that's how you do it, VI-X, and then it uses the Blowfish protocol, and you can go look at that. Lamborghini Mercy, yeah, all the answers and questions are in Discord, so if anybody wants our Discord, there's the Discord. Let me go drop it over on the YouTube side for you guys. There's our Discord, but for people that are already in Discord, yeah, you go to the presentation section of resources and you just scroll up about a page and you'll find here's all the answers and questions right here. So what you would do with these, right? Because you say, well, Scott, what would I do if you weren't around? Well, what you would do is you would pull this up. You would go into a Killer Coda session, and you could go to any Killer Coda session. You can go to one of mine, or you can go to just a free one. They're all free, right? Nobody charges anything. You would just drop right here into like an Ubuntu. I would go to like a 2-node environment and just load it. And then you would be dropped into a shell and you could do all the Linux you wanted for 1 hour for free. And then when you're done, you could reload it and you could do all the Linux you want for another hour for free. It doesn't cost you anything. It's free. Killer Coda, I've been using them for years and they've never charged me anything. So you come in here, you make it a little bigger so you can read it. You do some Linux stuff. You type some commands, you learn a little bit, you figure stuff out, and then you go about your day, right? This is what you do. And I was asking a question the other day in our Discord, and I'm not trying to make people feel bad. I'm just asking, if you want to be a systems admin or systems engineer in the Linux space, how much command line have you done today? And if your answer is anything around 0, you may want to do a lot of things, but I don't think you want to be a Linux engineer, if that makes sense. And again, like, I'm not trying to shame anybody. I'm just telling you, like, if this is what you want to do professionally, you got to start working on it, right? You got to start doing it. All right. Can we encrypt a VI text file? Yes. Can you, or for any user, can you determine what their sudo permissions are? This one's a little more challenging. This one, I use this a lot when I'm dealing with user permissions for my different dev groups, and then devs come to me and say, we need some value, sudo-l. Okay. You're getting close to what I do. Oh, I don't have sudo on these boxes. If that user exists, it'll tell you, yeah, what the user's permissions are. For sure. And this user, Scott, can do everything. Now, there's that's the best way. You could go look for, you could do this. There's other ways to do this, but I don't think they're super useful. I think this is the best way. You could also do something like ID Scott and see what group he's in, and then you could grep like wheel. Like I could do something like this: grep-I, capital E, wheel, and Scott from Etsy sudoers, right? Look for it there, and then .d anything, and if there's anything in there, and very quickly I could find out if there's any Scott or wheel in there. And I mean, but I don't think that's as good as just using the tool. Regarding sudoers, can you tell us the different syntax we can use in sudoers.d? Well, the nice thing is sudoers will parse the entire Etsy sudoers file, or sudo will parse the entire sudoers file, and then each in order as they're listed in the directory of the files in Etsy sudoers.d. They will be appended to the end of the sudoers file. So, yeah, I mean, you could add permissions directly in there so that they don't have to be in the original one. By the way, this is what I like to do. When I'm adding permissions, I do not add them in Etsy sudoers. I use Ansible to drop files in that are configured for each of my users, like my service accounts, into Etsy sudoers.d. Then it's really easy for me to just go on a box to Etsy sudoers.d, and if there's anything in here, I can very quickly audit the permissions, either manually like this or through an automated process for my whole environment. I can say, okay, over on all these ones we have, in Etsy sudoers.d, we have some service account that's allowed for the devs to be able to assume root on only their dev boxes. And sometimes you want to give them access like that. Sometimes you give them just a subset of commands that allow them to install some tool that they need or something like that. But the point is you can very quickly audit your stuff if you build a little tool set that'll do that all for you. I don't think... Do I have any of that? I don't know if I have any of that. Do you guys see any? Oh. So this is one. So this is one that I wrote. So we had a problem at a company I was at where we had this big monolithic sudoers file that was literally thousands of lines. It was probably, if I had to guess, about 5K lines. It was huge. Shoujo Boy, I don't edit sudoers directly. I edit it by dropping things in. But you can do sudo checks to make sure that the syntax is good. It'll do basically like a basic lint for you and let you know that it's good. But no, I don't use sudo. I don't like edit sudoers directly myself. No. But yeah, I mean, I guess if I was editing it like just to test something, I guess I would use sudo. Yeah. This is so this is one that I wrote, and it's pretty easy to see what I'm doing here. I stamp it with today's date, so I do a backup. By the way, one of the things about Ansible is when I wrote this here in the home lab, obviously, and then I took this to work to solve a problem I had at work. So I did this when I worked for AAA. And the first thing I did was I backed up the sudoers file. I want to back it up to today's date. And ISO 8601 basic short does it down to the second, not to the millisecond, but down to, or not to the, not to the millisecond, just down to the normal second. So that's pretty good. I got a pretty good backup here. And then I checked to see if the sudoers file already exists. So in Etsy sudoers.d, did I already make an outdated file, which I make down here? Hold on. And for me to do that, that means I've already ran this. So this is kind of me making this idempotent. If it already exists, don't do anything on this box. And then it'll fail. It'll, in this case, we just debug it. And then we copy down. So this wasn't the one where I wrote in the fail right there. But then down here, we just copy it over. So our Etsy sudoers becomes our sudoers outdated because I'm going to let that thing die in place. But I want to keep all those permissions that people have had legacy for years, right? And then, yeah. Oh, and look, check this out. No, this is actually it right here. If the sudoers check RC came back as a 1, meaning this didn't happen, like this didn't exist, then this did go and copy it over. So yeah, this part right here only happens if this wasn't there. That's what it is. I'm trying to look at my flow here because, you know, I haven't looked at this in years. All right, then we remove the include dir line from etc sudoers.d, and the reason is because you'll get an error when sudoers goes to parse, and it'll say this is recursive, and it'll just break shit. So we'll just pull the recursive stuff out because you're already in the directory, meaning you're already being read out of there. Let's just take it out. Okay, boom. And then what's this last thing I do? Backup current sudoers, and then did I left the bottom of this off. I don't know what the hell I was doing there. This doesn't do what I want it to, but or what I would think I'd want it to. I don't know what I was doing with that. Maybe that was I had a new version of sudoers that I was pulling out of this. Yeah, this was the empty sudoers that I want. This was a very stripped down sudoers. So I was taking this big monolithic sudoers, moving it into etc sudoers.d, and then I was putting this little basic one in there. You still kept all your permissions, but now you're over there, and whenever we're ready to trigger it off and just cut that big one out, we can do that. Or on older systems that are going to slowly die, and we're going to build in our new system of really lean. Look how lean this is. There's a sudoer and an admin. Those were, and then me, apparently. So this was in my home lab. We didn't have wheel or any of those other things in there. Yeah, that's an Ansible playbook right there, yeah. And it was trying to solve a very specific problem in an organization that I worked at, where we had this big monolithic 5,000 line sudoers file that went to all the different machines, and we had scripts that ran that kept it in sync across all our machines. It was just a nightmare, absolute nightmare. If you changed it on a machine, expect it to get wiped over within a few hours. Well, what if we just kept it real small? The sudoers.new is the only one in there. And when you want to add or remove things, you go do it down in etc sudoers.d. That's where you add or remove permissions from people. Well, really just add, right? Because sudoers is mostly an additive model of permissions. But can we determine the sudo permissions for a user? Yes. So sudo -l-U s champagne, in this case, that's my user. My user can do whatever I want. No, you're fine, Boris. We don't have sudo on this box, so can't do sudo there. All right. For all users, can you list a count of what default shells they have? Can you count up all the shells of all the users on a system? This one's a little more challenging, a little more fun. Can you tell me what the... can you tell me what a count of all the default shells on a system are? There's a few things to think about here. Where are the default shells at? Anybody know where the default shells are kept at? Where do you know how a user gets their shell? And then how would you parse down to just that column? And then how would you get down to just a count of them? How would you count them? I still use logsec. Yeah, you're talking about the I still use it. I think Notepad++ has always been my default. I still use logsec a little bit. I haven't opened it since my machine's rebooted though, so I'm gonna have to. Looks like it's gonna take forever to load. Yeah, I don't know, but yeah, I just have it on this. Anybody have a good idea for what they think they would use here? Yeah. Here's this. Hold on. Settings, dark mode. Themes. Nope. I think it'd be in settings. I don't know. I don't know where it is, but it's very bright. I'm gonna get rid of it. I want all the users on the box. Maybe all the users on all the boxes. How might we figure that out? What would we do? What if we did this? But we went and looked at our data first. So we cat etc pass wd because that's where our data are, right? And then, so we've got these. We've got some user information there. But I want to know the default shell of all the users. Well, I can find that, right? I can say that same cat, and then I can awk dash capital F with a colon, so it'll be the field delimiter, and I'll say print the 7th field, right? Because we have 7 fields across an etc pass wd, and here's all of them. But I said I wanted to count them all up. So can we count those all up? Does anybody know how to count that up? So here's our etc pass wd, and then here's how we awked down to the 1. No, I want all of these. The 7th field across all of them. I want that. Who can do that? What do we add to this? Soldier Boy, that's close to what I want. That's not wrong. But how about this? What if we're going to use a tool in a way that most of us don't ever use it, and I think that some of you might find this fun. Let's sort them, and then let's do unique, right? And that's cool. That gives us all the unique ones. But did you know you can do unique-c and it'll count them for you? So that's the answer right there that I want. That's not wrong, Soldier Boy. It's just you can get all of them right there. Isn't that interesting? So if I just wanted to know, what number of systems or whatever things are in there. Yeah, so unique will only work, though. Here's the thing. Do it without the sort and watch how it's different. This is actually funny because you're going to be like, wait a minute, that's not right. Unique doesn't work right unless you sort first, because unique only collapses things that are touching each other. So then you make them touch each other, like you line up all of them by, like, let's say grade, and then you squish all the students in each grade together and count them. That's what unique-c does then. Yeah, this is a good one. This is useful in a lot of different ways with logs and stuff. Like I show you guys sometimes. Let's go to a system that's got a lot more logs here, and let's just say I wanted to like tail dash 20 on var log real quick. Var log. Let's just say secure, because this is one we always have. We always have people trying to log in, and I say, okay, what if we wanted to get the only as far back as I have system information here, and maybe we say head on this. Let's go ahead, and that's all the way back to January of probably maybe even more than years ago. Let's say, what if we wanted to just say within? Let's try this. We can cat it, or we can do all kinds of things to it first, but let's just do that. And then let's just say that we wanted to awk the first 2 fields. So $1, comma, $2. And so that'll be by date then now, right, technically. And I could just do that real quick, and that'll give me a bunch of stuff. I say that's a lot of stuff. So what if I wanted to then find like a scope of how many things are happening? Are the same amount of things happening each day? I could just do, in this case, because they're already sorted, I can just do a unique-c, and I can say, okay, in this varlog secure file that I have, January 12th, 13th, 14th, 15th, and 16th, that's about the number of messages each day. And then if I said, well, January 13th seems to be the most events of some type, so then maybe I go into January. So now I do some grepping, right? And by the way, this was going to be one of the things we were going to do in our Securing Linux course. I was going to have you guys looking at actually doing some log stuff. So now we look for Jan 13th, let's say. And then in here, maybe we just really quickly, we would maybe, well, we could just more it real quick. Whoops, more. And see what's there, and we say, okay, there's some failed passwords, and then there's some invalid users, and there's some other stuff, and I say, well, hold on, what if we just wanted to gather up all of the usernames and then IP addresses out of all this? Well, for the most part, if we were to count this up, anytime we have a failed password for invalid user, admin, let's say. So let's just real quick look at our data. grep failed, right? So now we look at failed, and it always kind of looks like this, right? And we could just go down real quick and say, okay, what are the users that are the usernames that are most often used, right? And we might say maybe failed. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Maybe this 11th field here, right? And then I want to sort them and then do unique-c. And that'll give me who's been trying to log in. Now, these ones are going to be the ones that have root on them. So what I can do is I can grep-v. Actually, I'd have to do it back here before grep-v root, and then we would get all the user attempts to come into the system that didn't have anything to do with the user root, right? These are the ones in the last 5 days that people have tried to come into my system on. Now, if I wanted to, I can come up here a little bit, and I could say on anyone with the user, I could go 2 more, and I can get their IP address, right? So I can come here, and I can go for their IP address. I don't actually have to do sort and unique anymore. Well, we can, because we can see if any were persistently trying. So this one persistently tried, this one persistently tried, this one persistently tried. But they did eventually find themselves, I hope. They should have eventually found themselves kicked out by fail2ban, right? So fail2ban's kicking people out on my system, and if I wanted to validate that that was still working, I should be able to come over here and look in my security and see, yeah, users are still getting banned forever right here. Here's the current failed login attempts, and here is them still getting banned out of my system in the last little bit. It's very, very unsloped curve there, but whoops. 7 days. This one tends to be 90 days, I think. Yeah, this one's 90 days. So there we go. But the point was, can you list all the users? I don't remember which one it was. All the user shells we were way back over here. Yeah, that's how you list all the user shells there. So good, we did that. All right, can you verify the individual user's limits of open files, and do you know where to change this? So if a user has been trying to open a bunch of files for some software code that they're running or developing down on one of their boxes, can you verify the individual user's limit of open files? For the user, not just for the system or anything like that, like for that individual user. Can you do that? And do you know where to change it if you need to? List of open files, number of processes, there's all kinds of things we can limit a user to protect themselves from themselves, right? Maybe. And in some cases, a user needs to be able to develop something that has more power than their user, right? Sometimes they're developing something that's going to run in the company under service account, and that service account has more permissions. So sometimes down in the dev environment, we have to give the devs the ability, and typically what I would do is I would give them pseudo permissions to the account, and they would do shit as the account. That's what I would have my engineers do, my dev guys. But let's just say they really need it for their user. Do you know how to check those permissions? Or their service account doesn't have the permissions yet, so we need to give them to them. How do we go about doing that? Who knows that? What's the way that we would do this in a system? This will tell me all right here, but do I know how to for just a user? This tells me the defaults, right? This tells me like what root can do. But are there limits and where are they set? Here's the user Scott. Here's what the user Scott can do. Scott is no different than everybody else. So we don't have any custom things running on this one. But where would we go change it? Does anybody know where we'd go change it? And this isn't me trying to quiz you guys. Again, this is like for you to think through and go, oh no, I've never done that before. I've never had to do that before. So if the ticket came in, you know, and you're having to fix it like maybe late in the afternoon and nobody else is around that built the systems, well, you got some Googling or reading the field manuals, or you figure out how to do it right here, right? I tell you guys all the time, the worst time to figure something out is when you're in the middle of it. Shoujo Boy, you might have to break that up because I can't see. It just says asterisk, 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 NF. Oh. Access.conf is something else. Does anybody know what it is in here? It's the limits.conf, right? Yep, there you go. In this lab, or in this environment, nothing's different. None of my users have any difference, but these are where things can be different. Core files, data, file size, the maximum file size that they can write, memlock, number of file descriptors that they can have open, and you can limit these to your users or your individual processes in a Linux server, and you can be very verbose about it. Now, you don't have to do it in the limits.conf. You can do it in the limits.d and make your own directories down here, or your own files down here, much like you can at csudoers. I like when there's any kind of .d directory because then I can do things and drop them in there and pull them out dynamically. I like when I have the ability to do that. So that's where you would go, etsy-security-limits.conf. And in this case, there's nothing different. All right. General system stuff. Can you show me how your system was booted by Grub? Can you show me, like, how your system knew how to boot? Max Sterling, I can use C groups to change ulimit. Yeah, I think you can change stuff down, but I don't think you can ever change. Like, I think you can scope things down lower, but I don't think you can ever scope things up. I think securitylimits.conf will, like, if something's in there and then you go try to set it in a C group for people to have more permissions, I'm pretty sure you won't get any more. I mean, I haven't ever tried that, but I guess this is what I always tell people. One test is worth 1,000 expert opinions. I would tell you to go try it. Right? Try it and see what you can do. But you should be able to scope things down with C groups. We also do that. How about this one? Can we tell that the system was booted with Grub? How was it booted with Grub? What's some of the things we might want to know there? There's a few components of this that I can think of. There's your security limits right there. What would we normally? How can you tell that the system was booted by Grub? What is Grub? Does anybody know what Grub is? We talked about it last night, but I also mentioned a thing called Lilo, the old Linux loader. That was back in the day. It's not the it's just the Linux loader. I do like cat proc command line for this. Yes, this is how it was called. As my system booted, this is how it was called right here. Now, strictly speaking, this box that I'm on doesn't actually have a Grub. It boots up through iPixie. But another server, like this one, he does have how he was booted. And you've got in Red Hat-like systems, you got a cool little tool called Grubby. And Grubby can show you the default kernel. And then you can compare that. I actually use this in Ansible, where I compare the default kernel from Grubby with the kernel that's there, and if they're different, I know that my system needs to be rebooted. after patching or something like that. If they're not different, I don't need it. Yeah, Bobby, that's right. Bobby Tom said Grand Unified Bootloader. That's correct. And then where's that configured? Should be down in boot grub 2. And then down here. And we don't tend to edit these by hand anymore. But you got a grub.cfg in here. And you can edit things in here. I would not advise maybe doing that. Also, most of these actually get generated out of Etsy grub nowadays. Yeah, I don't even see it in there. But the point is you can go modify those things directly if you need to, right? So this is down in your boot. This system that I'm using over here doesn't have a boot directory because it comes up through iPixie. It actually boots itself off the network through Werewolf and TFTP, right? But could we tell how this system was booted? Yes. And why do I mostly do this? I've told you guys this a lot. But one of the main reasons I do stuff like this is because let's say all this was going to be different, because it is in this environment for certain reasons, right? How things are built. But let's say I always expect these to be exactly the same. It should always be quiet. It should always be crash kernel no. It should always be VGA 791. And it should always be net naming scheme. And then if I had, like let's say I had GPU on some of them, I would have some certain things that have to be there for GPU to work properly, right? And I could come to my systems like this, and I could say, well, from Werewolf, could I do a little bit of Ansible to just go check all of those systems, right? And could I maybe, after I cap the proc command line on all of them, could I maybe validate real quick that, I was just going to do a little Ansible against all of them real quick. Maybe not as quick as I would hope it would do them. That should go real quick. I don't know why that's going slow in my environment right now. But the point is that'll grab the proc command line from all systems. And if they were smaller and kind of like more when we normally build servers, we would be able to very quickly see if any of my servers were not built the same way. Let's see. Dan Mello, that's all I'm going to say. What is the Socratic method? Yeah, so the Socratic method is a way where we ask questions, either of ourselves or in groups, and we think through process of things. And do I understand a thing? Do I need to think about it more? Why do I think that? Oh gosh, I have a Sleep 60 on the front of that. What am I thinking here? And you say, do I understand a thing as well as I think it? I do. So a lot of times it's used for like law and philosophy. Like, why do you think the things that you think, and why this and this? And then you have to defend. Well, I'm using the, I'm using reductio ad absurdum to find that you are an idiot, and then and whatever. Like that's like argumentation, right? But for us, it's just us sitting here back and forth, asking ourselves questions and then validating things. Because I tell you guys, when I get called late at night, if I have to fix something, which is less now that I'm an engineer, but when you're an admin. And sometimes you're always stuck in the admin role, even if you're an engineer, and even if you're architects don't get as much. But sometimes you get called out, right? This just happens. So you get called out, and I am constantly quickly asking myself questions, and then validating it about the system that I'm looking at, right? So can you tell me how the system was booted? I can scroll through real quick and go, okay, yeah, all these nodes look like they were booted. They came up properly inside of Werewolf. Maybe I assume that they all have a certain version of the kernel, and they have a certain architecture, and I expect that architecture to be there as I go quickly to it. And are any of these nodes not there? Rocky 10's down. Why is Rocky 10 down? And then I go try to figure out what's going on in my environment, right? So, all right, can you tell me how system was booted by grub? Yes, we could do that. We figured it out, right? Next one. Can you show me everything inside of your little Linux box? Can you show me everything in here that is connected to the PCI bus? This is just a virtual machine, but he has PCI slots that have been given to him by his virtual host. So can we see him? Can we see what he expects to be there and what is there? Are there any errors on it? What can we Do you even know what a PCI bus is? Maybe there's a step back we have to do to go look at what it means to have a PCI bus on a Linux system or on any system. Yeah, I think Soja Boy has this probably best. LSPCI. LSPCI. It'll tell you what's there. And one that's, I mean, very, very common for me out in my years of doing high performance compute is we'll take, 10 servers, we'll pull them out, we'll drop new HBA cards in them so that they can connect to InfiniBand or whatever, and we'll do all that, and then we'll run LSP, and typically they have to be down for you to do PCI bus changes to them, right? And then you go and you plug them in and you bring them back up, and maybe on 9 of the 10 nodes we see the new thing that we expect, maybe some device. But then on one of the nodes we don't see that. Well, now we can go dig in. Did we not put it down hard enough? Did we not feel it click? Is there something wrong? Does it need to be in a different PCI slot? Does it matter with our configs which PCI slot it's in? Because sometimes it does, depending on how your Ansible playbook or whatever your configuration script is doing. Some things will auto-find things, but sometimes there's also different speeds depending on where you plug something in. So, there's all these things. So maybe I go look at LSPCI. Maybe I do something like this. I do dmessage because I just rebooted the box. grep-i for PCI. And I just see everything about PCI. And maybe in here, I see that there's some error. Or I see something that this thing is pretending it's emulating a NIC. So I have a network interface on the system. And I expect a certain amount of network interfaces on this device, right? And I can go see them as they're being shown to the system, and all these kind of things. So yeah, can we show everything connected to the PCI bus? Yes. We can use LSPCI to see what the system sees active. We can see dmessage to see how the system booted and walked the bus and found these different things. Now, one of the guys in our Discord, he was mining Bitcoin a while back, right? And he had these GPU slots in these long racks that he had sitting on his desk. And he and I were talking about it over the phone, and he was having problems. Actually, I think he hopped up on Discord while he was working on it. So it's probably a few months back now, maybe even last summer. Now that I think about it, it was a while ago. And he had like 8 cards in one of the machines, and one of them just wasn't working. So we started going and digging through these exact same commands, and we found that one of the PCI ports or something, when we moved it to the other PCI port, the device showed up and everything worked and he was happy. But then I said, well, how much do we want to troubleshoot this other thing? Because it's just likely that there's something wrong with that PCI port, right? We could try a different card in it. We could try all these other things, but we didn't really feel at that point, we'd been in it for a couple hours. We didn't really want to dig into why that port was bad. We just skipped it. And sometimes that's a thing. Sometimes that's one of your mitigation strategies. Sometimes that's a way we deal with things as engineers. We just go around a problem. We say, well, you know what? We'll just go around that thing. If we were at capacity and to get it working like all the other nodes, we needed to get that up, then we would have to do something else, right? But a lot of times you're dealing with systems that are maybe older or out of warranty. At work, a lot of times I'll dig in more and I'll go figure out what's actually going on. But this is as deep as we have to go a lot of times on the systems admin side of things, right? Maybe we got to pull out like a device log or something and send it to the vendor and let them parse through it, right? But anyway, so can you show everything connected to the PCI bus? I think we can do that, right? Down here, by the way, it looks like this. That was the journal one. Here's the kernel. Man, did I remove some stuff? I must have added some stuff. All right. Can you tell me the running kernel version? So I'm on a Linux box. How can you find the running kernel version? I think I have the answer on the screen, but maybe somebody wants to challenge themselves and try to figure out what's the running kernel version on this box you're on. What would that be? Play with my phone for a minute while you guys try to figure that out. I like uname-r. That's a good one. Uname-r. Somebody else had uname-k head. This one was fun. Sorry, that was dmessage. And that can also show you the kernel version right there at the top. I also just do dmessage. I don't know what the dash K did. How about this one? Cat proc version. That gives you the version too. So those are other ones. Those give you kernel versions. What if I told you on Red Hat boxes you can also do this? You can also do rpm-qa grep-i for kernel, and that would also tell you the version of the kernel that's on the system. Now, those are the versions that are installed. The running one is typically going to be, you want to use uname, right? That's the best. But this one will tell you what ones you have there and which ones you have as options. Now, if you want to know which ones are there on the system, cd, well, we don't have it, cd to boot and ls. And here are the old kernels that I have available on this box right here. This one's keeping 5 versions of the kernel. That's more than you need. Typically, you need 2 in the enterprise. One that's your running one and one that you can fall back to if you need to, right? And you will have security complain about that kernel that you can fall back to, but it needs to be there. Otherwise, you can't run your servers. Well, you can run your servers. It's just you don't have something to fall back to, and that's not a good plan. Not a good look if you have something go wrong in your systems to not be able to go back. All right. Can you tell me how many all right, I jumped ahead. Can you tell me how many versions of the kernel you have available? Yeah. You go down into boot and you go look at them. You have an init RAM FS for each of them, and then you have the VM Linux, in this case, kernel. Okay. All right. What's our time at? We're over an hour. Can you show that the SSHD service is running? How would you do that? How would we know that the SSHD service is running on a box? How would we know that, by the way, can we just tell that there's a process running? Can we tell that it was started by the system process starting tool, which is systemd? Can we tell these things? Do we know how to figure that out? There's one. Yep. Systemctl status SSHD. Yep, that'll work. What other ones do we got? If we knew its name, you could use AUX. There we go. Do we see 804 down here? Yep, 804. And I like PSEF for the same reason. And I see 804 right here on my PSEF, and then the parent process ID I see of 1. Does anybody know what what it indicates to me that 804 is the name, or is the process ID, the main PID, the process identifier, but the parent process ID is 1? Does anybody know what that indicates to me? What is process 1 in a modern Red Hat Enterprise Linux or CentOS or Rocky box? What is process 1? Does anybody know? It's always systemd. It's always systemd. So it means systemd is my parent. What that means to me, if I didn't know anything else and I was just looking at this service and I'm like, the hell is this service? I know to go look for it in systemctl. Yeah, I know that systemctl is running it. Yeah, fair enough. Init, right? Our init process. Used to be init, now it's systemd, right? Now, check this out. So if I do, real quick, systemctl, by itself, it'll just dump everything to the screen. So then I go like this. I grep for SSH, and I would be able to find that service. So if I'm on a box and I'm like, man, I'm pretty sure these have something like Promtail or Prometheus or something, there's my Promtail service. Oh, can you show how the SSH? Yeah, I'm jumping ahead of myself in the talk, but there you go. I actually have this timed to every 3 minutes, so it jumps. But I've been going forward and going back. Some of you guys might be noticing, but I didn't do it that time. So, anyways, it moved forward. How can we tell that it was started and what its parent process? Right there. That's the parent process. So we know that SSHD was started by systemd. We can see it right here. We can see that it's running and it's the open SSH service daemon. But what about some of these other ones? We have some other ones that are kind of fun. ss-ntulp, grep for SSH. There we see it, and we see the proper process ID that we found earlier. So everything's mapping back to something else. We can also look, now we know that it's port 21, so we can say LSOFI, sorry, port 22, and we can say that port 22 is being listened to by the process ID 804. We keep seeing that 804 over and over again. We can connect to our own box, netcat 127.0.0.1 on port 22, and we'll see the header for OpenSSH. We can look in the software that's there and go, well, there's our client 8.7, and there is our server 8.7. There's our server version right there. So like everything, I tell you guys all the time, nothing here is magic. It just looks like magic to management and other people that don't want to do Linux. But for those of us that do Linux, it's all chutes and ladders. Everything points to something else, and everything can get us to kind of a knowledge of what's going on our system. And a lot of this stuff you might go, Scott, you went over that before. It's still good to know how to do. Because late at night, you're going to get asked about some bullshit Java process, and they're going to give you some part of a name that it generates, and you're going to have to go figure out, is it open? Is it running? Is it listening? Was it started properly? Or did something kick it off? Yeah, Shoujo Boy, I constantly talk about how, you try to show this stuff to people, and then they just glaze over and go, he's casting spells. He's a damn wizard. Like, they don't even want to know what you do, right? I mean, they want to know enough to get through like the status meeting in the morning. And then it's funny because almost always you'll give the status to somebody and then they'll have to ask you in the meeting anyways. So that person will give the same status you did and then they'll come up. Can you edit the file that changes the kernel the system boots to? Do you guys know how to do that? Yeah, Shoujo Boy, I think that's true. Yeah, being a wizard and Linux admin ain't much different because either way people are going to look at you like you're a wizard. So it doesn't really matter what you're actually doing. You're like, I'm doing very technical stuff. I can break everything I do down into a process, just like Edward Demings used to say. Like, I could do these things. This isn't magic. And they're like, oh, it's magic. He's back away. He's got the cauldron. He's got his spells. And you're like, oh God, I'm just doing simple stuff. And it just looks like magic to people who don't want to learn it, right? I tell people all the time, too, like, not everybody wants to get down in the command line like this. And if I tell you guys, too, if you come here and you hang out for a little bit and you're like, that's not for me, I'll go do something else. I'll go be a project manager. I say, well, at least you learned it here. I have college students that are in their 300, 400 level classes, and they're like, I hate networking. And I go, that's an expensive-ass time to find out. 400 level college class, you're 3 or 4 years in, and you're just now finding out you hate being at a command line doing Cisco stuff. Could have learned that for free on Twitch. Didn't have to spend all that time learning that you hate it. Because, by the way, this is another thing I have to often tell students. You don't just learn this stuff so that you get a degree so people throw money at you. No, you have to do the work. For the rest of your career, you need to know this stuff. Yeah. Dude didn't attend to class, so that's why. Yeah, so I tell you guys all the time, you don't need college to do this stuff. I think you can do this stuff learning it in the wild. It's just easier to learn it in the wild if you're hanging out with other engineers that are also doing this stuff. And I really do think you guys can do this stuff. You just need to spend time with it. Here, let me link you guys our Discord again. So there's Discord for people that want it. Discord's free. You can always hang out down there, talk shop, all that good stuff. I haven't linked that for a while for you guys. All right. Can we edit the file? Yeah, so there's not one on this box, but over on this box there is. And it's down here. Whoops. Just type SL on my box. It does that to you. Always type LS. You go down into grub 2. And in here, here's our grub.cfg. And that's the file that we would change for this. So there's our Linux kernel being called, and there's our command line to the system. All right. Can you tell me the version of Linux you're using? So you get called out at night, you're on a system, you've never been on this system before, the bridge call that you've been joined to, nobody knows anything about the system. You jump in, you have root maybe from a box, so you key in and you jump over to the server, and You don't know anything about the server. How are you going to find out what the version of the Linux is that you're using? Cat Etsy OS release grep-i version. That's pretty good. Yeah. So you should be able to ask any questions you guys want. There was a question about if you can ask questions on Discord. Yeah, I have specifically told, especially like the senior people, don't hammer people. We might be the only place somebody ever goes to ask a question about this before they just give up and go back to whatever they were doing. So I tell the guys all the time, like that's this isn't the place to be the smartest dude around. Answer the person's question or just ignore them. But I tell my guys all the time, don't hammer people. So yeah, you can ask any question you want. You can ask questions here if you want. I try not to hammer people. I hammer people that I think are trying to prove they're the smartest guy in the room, because I don't think it matters if you're the smartest guy in the room. I really don't. I've been an engineer a long time. What matters is who can build shit. So, yeah. I think we're a pretty friendly group, and mainly because I tell the guys, like, just try to remember back to when you were trying to figure it out. Like, I know if somebody asked me something about, like, package management, I'm like, man, I'm glad that guy doesn't have to do the stuff that I used to have to. And I don't do that to, like, compare. I'm just saying it's like, it was a nightmare going and finding packages back in the day. You were pulling them just randomly off the web to build whatever tooling you needed because there were no package managers, right? And it's like, we're very spoiled now. And and I'm not saying that in a bad way. I'm just saying, like, I'm very glad if somebody's trying to figure out how to use their package manager right, because you can save yourself a lot of headache from going and building stuff from source. Now, do you have to sometimes build stuff from source? Yes. Yeah, sometimes you do still. It's very rare. It's source, not stores. I'd say I probably only build stuff from source 1 out of 100 builds. So one out of every 100 or so is probably something that I have to build. But most of the time nowadays, we just have package managers and that kind of stuff or whatever. But all right, can you tell me the version of Linux you're using? Yeah, this is my way. This works on most all modern Linux. So Soja Boy was also right. Cat OS release. If you wanted to see what this is looking at, that's what's happening in your system. I just tend to just do Etsy Splat release, and that covers most modern Linux. I know this works in all Red Hat flavors, all SUSE flavors, and SLES flavors. This works across all Ubuntu flavors and Debian flavors. It'll read everything. So, that's another one that's good. LSB release A. In fact, I have some more down here. Hold on. Yep. LSB release -A. Oops. If we have it. So which LSB? None. So then I say DNF. What provides? If we can have it. If we have it somewhere. There we go. DNF install LSB release. Let's see what this gives us. This actually gives us a lot of info. Yes, we'll install it. This box, when I turn it off and it comes back up, it'll just be a clean server again. And let's see. There we go. That's a good one. That's the Rocky 9.4. That's what we're on. How does that compare to mine? Tell you guys all the time, use whatever one works. The most important one that you can do the most important command that you can do is the one that works for you when you need it. I've coached wrestling for a long time. I've wrestled for a long time as well. And it's one of the things I tell people is, like, if you ask 60 different wrestlers how to do shots, 60 different coaches, 60 different Olympic athletes, you will get 60 different answers for how to do a single leg shot. And I tell people all the time, the best single leg shot you can do is the one that works for you in a tournament. I don't care who taught you how to do whatever. The one that matters is the one that works for you in the tournament, right? It's the same thing here. I tell you guys all the time, you need to know how to use your tools late at night, because it isn't bad during the day to go troubleshoot stuff. It's bad in the middle of the night when you're rubbing sleep out of your eyes, right? And the call comes in and there's 10 servers down and they're trying to figure out why. Yeah, DNF, by the way, is just where Yellow Dog Update Manager went. Because Yellow Dog's been gone since... So there used to be a site back in the day, linuxdistros.org, and that's where you can go download them. It doesn't exist anymore. But that's the last time I ever saw Yellow Dog, was probably 05 on there. You're on Blue Onyx. I mean, that's... Yeah. Rocky 94. Yeah. Is that bad, Mr. Poolshot? That's what I've got is Rocky 94 in my systems. Yep. All right. Can you... What's the next one? Can you... Whoops. Can you show all the unique shell... Oh... Can you describe the 7 fields of the Etsy Pass WD file? So if we just cat Etsy Pass WD, you just look at that. Maybe you look at this user. There's 7 fields across. Do you know what they all mean? Can you tell me what they all mean? Give me 1 second real quick. I'm going to go grab some water. Can anybody tell me, or how would you know the 7 fields? How would we know? Turn our camera back on here. All right. What are the 7 fields? What does it mean that they're colon delimited? What does it mean that something's comma separated or comma delimited? What's the difference? What does that mean? Right? What does a field mean? Like, these are all things that if you've never seen them before. Name, UID, GID, home dir, description, and shell. Yeah, so check this out. You've got the name. This is like a common name internal to the system. You've got the password next, right? But the password isn't in Etsy Pass WD anymore. When you've got an X, that means it's over in shadow. Here's the user ID of my user. And this is also locally unique to my user. Then the GID of my primary group right here. Then we've got a short little thing here that's missing. That's a description. If you want to put a description, you can. Then you've got your home directory. Typically home/name, but could be different. Could be NFS mounted. Could be a bunch of things. And then you've got the default shell of the user. So those are the 7 fields across. Name, password, user ID, primary group, description, which is, again, description is not necessary, but the colon is to delimit. The home directory, and then the shell, the default shell of the user. Yeah, Shoujo Boy, they all map to, you never show this file normally, but this is the lab box, so I don't care. It means that it's in shadow. So my user, Scott, should have a password over here in shadow. It was never made for him, so apparently he doesn't have one. I don't see Scott 2 in here. Scott 2 doesn't have a password. Which, well, that makes sense because this is a clustered box, so don't worry about why that makes sense. But Pass WD, there's your 7 fields, yes. And here it is, username, password, UID, primary group ID, comment, home, comment if you have one, home, default shell. There they are right there. Okay, next one. Can you show me all the unique shells that exist in Etsy Pass WD? Now this was one we did earlier. We could cat out Etsy Pass WD. Then we could send that to awk and say by field, and the field delimiter will be colon, show me the 7th column. And that'll give me all of those. And then I could say, and by the way, if we really wanted to, we could just say 1, right? And we would see what each of the users are or something like that. And maybe if we just needed to know the ones that were able to log in. And then this would be the users that are not no login, right? And then I'd be able to figure out who has access in some way to this box. But anyways, let's go back to the original task here. And then we did sort unique -c. And that'll count them all up. There's 41 that can't log in. Another 2 that can't. None of these ones can log in. All of these ones can't log in. These 8 can. You say, well, can I find those? Yeah, well, that's easy, right? Grep bash. There's your If you want to count them, there's the ones that are in there. And if you say, hold on, Scott, I want to count them in the numbered list where they're at, and I say I can do that too. Watch this. I can cat it, number line it, and then grep for bash. So that's their position in the file, right? Like if you wanted to know, well, this one's cool, Scott, but you didn't tell me where it is in the file, and I go, oh, okay. That's where they're at in the file. That's their actual numbered line position in the file right there, right? Because you do the number line before the grep. It's not that smart, guys. It's just like tricks that you pick up. You know, you don't have to be super smart. You just have to go in here and play with this stuff, right? You just got to spend time in it. And you go, does this guy spend all day in the shell? Yeah, I do. Yep, all day. All day. Don't go outside? Not really. Guess I have friends with people on Discord. No, I do go outside some. I go out and leave every now and then. By the way, I'm missing a lot of follows. Hopefully this stuff's useful to you guys. I appreciate you guys hanging out. We're just going through, and again, the Socratic method is I'm asking questions, and then we're going in and trying to figure out if we know the answers to these things. It's like a check. It's a self-check. It's a introspection of, am I ready to do this stuff, or do I need to spend more time in here, right? So, all right. By the way, yeah, I hope it's super helpful. The goal here is to get you guys doing this stuff, right? So let's go here. Let's go, next one. Can you set a variable? Do you even know what a variable is? Can you set a variable to be inherited by a child process and one variable that's not inherited by a child process? And then can you prove it? You might even go, I don't even know what a variable is. And I say, well, that's you're in luck. Here you go. You can do print env, all one word. I'm just going to do word count dash L. That'll show you 34 variables. You can do env. That'll show you a bunch of variables. You can do this setup. Not setup. What's that other one? There's a few other ones. I don't remember them all. It's not setup. It's I don't ever need them, so that's why I don't. But anyways, here's the thing. Print env will give you a bunch of stuff, and then if you need to see one of them, you can call them by name, like this. So here's a variable, echo shell. Oh, I've got this variable. But can I make my own variables? And then do I know how to make one inherited by a child process or not inherited? And you say, what? I don't even know what that is. Well, we're in a process right now. We're in a bash shell. Here's the bash shell I'm in. Right? That's the bash shell. Oh, yeah, well, I was wondering why it wasn't there. There's 1596. That's the bash shell I'm in right there, 1596. So, I get Tron flashback from Terminal Colors. I tried to install Gen 2 once or twice. Okay, maybe hundreds of times with very little success. Yeah, I haven't tried to play around with Gen 2. I don't think I've ever installed Gen 2 in all my time doing this, but yeah, I try to stay I try to stay away from relying on Terminal Colors if I can, right? I try to tell you guys you can just do a lot of this stuff vanilla. The colors that are there just came with the shell. So I don't not use them, I just don't go out of my way. But there's my 1569, there's my bash shell that I'm in. Let's make two variables. Let's be very, very sneaky. Let's say var1 equals Scott, right? And then I can say var2 equals stream. There it is. So var1 is Scott and var2 is stream, right? And I can echo var1, $var1, and it'll give me Scott. And I can echo the contents out. So now I've labeled a box and put something in the box, and now I'm looking at the box and it's popping up, right? This is like basic bash stuff. But watch this. If I type bash right here, and then I echo $, does everybody agree that this is now a new shell? Is a different shell than we were just in. I am one layer inceptioned, if you want to think of it like that. I'm in a new shell right now. And if I echo $var1, am I going to see that variable? If I echo var2, am I going to see that variable? No. And then when I exit and I do my echo $, I'm going to see this. I'm back on the original bash, and if I echo $var1, it's back. So is the other one. Now, hold on. You might say, Scott, there's not really an indicator at the command line where I'm at in my shell. And I would tell you, well, then it's real smart to not go digging down into shells too often. Sometimes you have to, but for the most part, you're probably not going to do that a lot. Yeah, it's like a nested shell inside of shell. And there was no indicator except you knew to check the PID of the process that I'm in. So here was the PID of the process, and I did that to prove you. That's the PID, the process ID. I'm always having to correct this stupid thing over here. It's not that stupid, but let's export var1 and do the same thing. Let's go into bash, down 1. And now when we echo var1, anything that's been exported from the parent is now available to all children forevermore until this process, which is the parent process. By the way, do we want to validate that the shell that we're in right now, by the way, it'll be a new shell. So echo $, whoops, echo $. This is the new shell I'm in, right? It's the child of this shell. This is the shell we've never left. We've only went down from it. Watch this. PSEF grep 10635. And his parent is 1596. 1596. Remember I told you guys this is all chutes and ladders. There's nothing magical happening inside of Linux. It is all computer science. Chutes and if you want to think of it as a game of chutes and ladders, where one thing slides over to the other, that's exactly how it works. Well, in my head, that's exactly how it works. I'm pretty sure that's how it's designed too. Everything connects to everything else. Okay. So we have that. This shell that we're in, there's his parent. This is him. And yeah, we don't have var2 because we never exported it down. But we do have var1 because we did export it. Then we exit back up and we're back in the original shell. And then if we want to leave it, we can leave the system and come back out and in. Now, by the way, who's the parent of this one? Who do you guys think is the parent? So think about how I got into this box. I was on the I was on the werewolf box, and I jumped into I jumped in SSH on this box, and that's where we got this cool little thing, right? As every time I jump in, that's embarrassing. It's like you're embarrassing me in front of my friends. Hold on, I'm just kidding. I don't care. Whenever I jump in the box, I see that, right? I got this cool little thing. I SSH'd in, and I got this, right? This is my message of the day, banner message of the day. And now I'm in the box. So what do you think, if SSH was the thing that was sitting there as a daemon allowing my user to come in, what do you think spawned my bash process? How would we know to check that? Who knows, right? So we PSEF grep for 1596, and the parent process of 1596 is 1595, and I go, what the hell is 1595? 1595, that's SSH. What? And then I go LSOF-P on 1595, and I'm like, what is this thing doing? And I come to find out, this is the SSHD daemon, right? Right? 1595 is the process. Let's go 22. 804 over there. Where's 804? Oh, this one was spawned. Sorry. 1595 was spawned from where? So there's my parent. So PSEF crypt-I 1595, right? But where did he come from? 1592. And where did he come from? 804. So 804 is the box that's actually is the process that's actually where the F did it go? Right here. That's 804 is the one that's listening. So you can track your processes all the way back if you want. In fact, I think you can do, is it PS tree? Somebody help me out here. I don't use PS tree, but I think I can go to my default one here. I think, and I think I can do a PS tree. Somebody help me out here. And I think I can see. Somebody help me out here. Ah, dash C. They'll show me all the parents. Somebody help me out here. Hey, Enzo Bear, how's it going? Dash P. How far up can I go with my P? Somebody help me out here. Dash S might be. I don't use PS tree. Ah, there we go. That's actually cool because that's S is all the way to the parents. So look at this. We went all the way from where we're at here. Here's my PS tree to my bash to my SSHD to the SSHD that kicked that off to the actual daemon to system D. That's pretty cool, right? Guys, I didn't even know that one. That one's actually pretty cool. I'm gonna add that in here. Oh man, that's like user stuff. Did I jump down too far? Did I go past where we're at? Oh yeah, I love this one. Oh, somebody had this before. S-P. Oh, there we go. Somebody had told me this one before. I've seen this one before. It's over here in my notes already. It's awesome though. Guys, I tell you, I forget stuff all the time. You do not have to... I mean, you don't have to know all these things. You just have to know how to do it the one way you want. But I really like that. Because that walks it all the way back up to where we're at. You know, how did the system start this? Again, I mean, if you needed to go look at any one of these processes, you knew that this was the one that was listening. You could do an LSOF-P for 804 and look at what is 804 holding open. LSOF shows you the open files. And what is it holding open? And it's holding open the file descriptors of 3U and 4U for SSH coming in on port, TCP. TCP port 22. Yeah, here's its file descriptor here. 3U, 4U. That's typically what it gets on a system too. But it could be different, and you might need to know. You might need to know that. Yeah, Chingo. I think that's pretty. I think that's a good. Good quote. Never memorize something you can look up in a book. It's same thing with on the internet, right? Like if I know when I'm here that I can read a man page, I'll read a man page. I don't dig in on things that I couldn't possibly know. Yeah. Also, Bobby, this is like episode 5 of this, so my last few on YouTube or Twitch will show you, like, this is what we've been going over. All right. Can you set a process to run every 5 minutes on a server? Could you do that? You have a process that you want to kick off and maybe sleep, and you want that to run every 5 minutes on a server. Does anybody know, like, I mean, how would you even do that? Like what's the tool? What 2 tools kind of exist for you to do that? And how would you go about doing that? Can you set a process to run every 5 minutes on the server? Only every 3 minutes? Fair enough. I may already have this on some of these. There's probably about 3 or 4 different ways to do this that I can think of. But where would we put... There's 2 services that I can think of that'll do it. System D is one. That's the less commonly used one. What's the one that most people use? No, we don't have cron running on this one. Yeah, we don't have... I don't even have cron on these boxes, so we'll come over here. And, what cron do we have running on my systems? Now, actually, I have one that was here that was going and doing a daily check. Some of you guys remember it writing into our sandbox. Yeah. And then, so with cron, I can either remember what all these fields mean, which I think is good for you to go spend some time with, or there's actually a file that knows them all for you. So you guys know Etsy cron tab has all the... If not, go to Wikipedia and look up cron tab and it'll show you the same thing. But here's your file definitions right here. So let's say that I wanted to do every 5 minutes. Well, I'm going to show you guys 2 ways to do it. So you can do on this system cron tab -E, let's say. and I'm going to edit my cron tab. And let's just say I'm going to take this right here, I'm going to say YYPP, and I'll just save it twice. And this is every minute right here, right? This is every minute of every hour of every day of every month of every day of the week. That's how that reads, right? So if I wanted to do every 5 minutes, the older way of doing it looked like this. I would go 0, 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35, 40, 45, 50, 55. That's how I would do it every 5 minutes on server. Now this is commented out, so it's not actually going to work. But now the more modern way of doing it looks like this. You can do anything divided by 5 like that. And it'll do a modulo, right? Modulo is where it divides by the number, and then it looks for if that number it has a remainder on it, and if it doesn't, that means that it was 0. It returns 0, and this does the same thing as this right here. There's no 60 because 60 is 0. You only have 0 through 59 minutes in a second in a computer. You don't have a 60th. You have 0 through 59. Those are your counting, right? That's how you would divide. So, good practice would be, could I do, like, good practice would be, what is this? This is at 6 o'clock, 6 a.m. exactly. So it's the 0 minute of the 6th hour of every day. Every hour. Oh, I'm forgetting that. Yeah, day of the month. Yeah, every day of the month. And then every month of the year, and then every day of the week. I don't know why I couldn't remember that one right there for a second. But that's what it is. Okay. And you could then test that and make sure that it does the things that you expect it to, and then go kick stuff off or whatever. This thing worked perfectly fine, by the way, when we were running it. I just didn't, it wasn't necessary for me to run these anymore because I had turned a bunch of these boxes off. A bunch of my servers are off in the lab right now. All these lab ones and all these C login nodes, mainly for Llama to have enough power. Llama needs a lot of power to run the little chat thing that we have going. Also, I could finish setting that up on stream if you guys want, but when it's done, it writes out to here. So some of you guys were here yesterday when we were working on it. Where's my labs at? I guess I gotta just pull up my labs here. And if I go here to, I want to say it was Llama Answer. We can go for the last 24 hours. Was it Llama Output? I think it was Llama Output. We don't want failed. We want anything. No, it was Llama Answer. So the Llama Answer that came back was what came out when we were, so this was when we were messing with the Llama box yesterday. Some of you guys remember this. And over here I can ask a question. Does anybody have a question they want me to ask it? What is the Socratic method? Right? Now that'll go ask it, and then after about 10 seconds, well, it'll run, and then when it's done about 10 seconds later, it'll give us an answer up here. And the answer will be right here when this runs. We have it all automated through, and I have it set up. It'll be set up for you guys where you'll do, here, it's going to pop up here in about 10 seconds. It took 23 seconds to run. It'll pop up over here, and one of the things I was going to do was while that runs, I was going to do this kind of funny. Well, I think it'll be funny. See if we can get B-top on here. Huh. Could have sworn. Could have sworn it was B-top. Oh, here's the Socratic method right here. For for you guys that want to read about it a little bit. Socratic method is a philosophical way of doing things. Apparently I cannot move it over here. There you go. There's Socratic method. Anybody wants to read about it. Give me a second here real quick. I want to find where this thing is. Where did I see it? I'm sure. Let's see if... No, nothing there, huh? See if we can find it. No? Huh. Well. Oh, maybe I didn't... wait, grep, do I have... I'm looking at my repos real quick to see... see if we need the EPEL repo. See if we can find EPEL. Oh, EPEL-release. Alright, so extra packages for Enterprise Linux for people that don't know. And then we're going to search again for BTOP. I want to see if BTOP's out there. Now it's going to go grab all the metadata for all our package, see if that's in one of them. Right? Metadata is just data about data, but there's all the software that's in the repository is kept in the metadata. So you go and your system will download it and it'll tell you what it can install. If it's going to be there, it's going to be in the EPEL, which is the extra packages. There it is. Let's install it real quick. Yep. And then what I was going to do was this. So that is not easy to read. Let's see. Let's make this a little bit bigger. That is also still not easy to read. Let's do something to this terminal real quick. Change settings, appearance. I leave it kind of big for you guys. I don't mind looking at it smaller, but I'm going to make it a little smaller for now. And then we're going to try BTOP again. I think that looks a little better. BTOP-T. Do you guys like that? Here's why I wanted to do that real quick. Watch this. So let's see if I can get away with this. Ah, yeah, there we go. Okay. So BTOP is going to show the system, right? And then what we would do is we would open up new terminal. Typically, at any given time. SSH into my box in a few different ways. But I almost always, as I'm in a server, am in some kind of putty session, right? Okay. Screen LS, what do I have there? Let's go to 58937. I need to clean these up anyways. That's not SSH, it's screen -R, right? Reconnect. And I want to see what's in here. This was... I can close all these out. So let's go get out of those. That's all my connections to an old system I used to connect to. Can't connect to it anymore anyways. So let's get out of there. Okay. And we're going to go screen. We'll just go screen. We'll just make a new screen session, okay? So we've got a new screen session here. And sudo -I because I want to be root. Oh, I can become root just like that. There we go. Okay, so I come over here and SSH over to hostbox. Yep. And that was where we were doing all those llama commands. I don't have them. Have them over here. I'm going to steal this from myself. Come back over here. Come here. CD to data. Llama. Hell's the name of that? Stream right. Alright. So now, what is Socratic method? We can ask it whatever we wanted, but there's a reason I'm showing you guys this. Hold on. I don't know. I just saw BTOP earlier today, and I thought it was kind of fun. But what I want to show you guys is this. I'm going to change this around. And I'm going to say, what does high load on a Linux server look like? All right. So as we did that, in the top, the box that's running on, you're going to watch it get hit with all the CPUs. All the CPUs are processing that because we're using Llama, right? So look, you're watching at the top there. It's just massively running through all the stuff. We can see what networking stuff is happening. We can see that the CPU is just absolutely pegged. And then we should see it finish at 28 seconds, and then we should see it pop up over here on the right in about 10 seconds from when it finishes. There it is. High load on Linux server can typically be attributed to several reasons. There are several common causes and strategies that you might want to consider. Resource usage, and then a bunch of information about that, right? If people wanted to see that. Now that is, we have unrolled that because what happens here, let me pull this up. This comes out in JSON, right? It comes back as JSON from the request that we do. And we're unrolling it to only show the response. And what I mean by unroll is, have you guys ever seen JSON output? It's structurally sound, but it is terrible for the human eye to look at. So we take just the response out of it, right? That's all we wanted. So, but anyways, yeah, I was using BTOP because I thought it would be fun, and I saw that was kind of a cool little thing. I can put together this this thing I kind of want to do here. I could write it real quick if you guys want. I just haven't gotten around to writing it yet. Where then you guys can use. So I have a command set up already through StreamerBot where you guys can just do. It would be a Twitch. Well, actually, no, it would come in through Twitch or YouTube. You would just do an exclamation mark ask and then whatever your question is. And then all I have to do is I have to strip the question down of any regex. I got to regex out any special characters because this will break on special characters. Like if I put, I'll show you what I mean by that. If I go to the front of this and I put what you guys would put in from the chat, you guys would say ask to trigger this, and this would break. Watch, it'll just come back right away, right here. Sometimes it does. And the reason it does it is because it thinks that ask is you trying to trick it. This one's actually going to work. This one's actually going to give the command. But most of the time, if I try to parse the ask, it doesn't work. So I'm just going to pull that off. Right? I'm just going to pull the exclamation mark off, and then it'll leave ask on there. But look, there's that. By the way, there's that box getting smashed again. I think that'll be fun. I think that'll be a fun little thing to have. And then if you guys want to ask questions, look, this is about to come up over here again, and we're going to have two different outputs that talk about high load on a Linux server refers to the number of connections or users that access server simultaneously while it's running. This can lead to issues such as slow response times, poor performance, resource consumption. So, like, if we're just sitting here, like, hanging out talking, we could have this up, and you guys could look at that. I don't know if you guys see that. This big old, that's all the processing power right there of my server, my poor server. It also looks like this if we were to go into it. If we were to go to the actual server, that's the performance of that poor box for all its CPUs. And then if we go to the Llama box, which has all 32 cores available to it, that's what its CPU performance looked like for those two questions. This is why I was telling you guys, I think in March or April, they're going to start selling those little NVIDIA desktops. Have you guys seen those little desktops that are going to be, they're going to be pretty high powered. They're going to have GPUs in them. I think they're going to be about $3,000. And I was telling the wife, I was like, well, between streaming on Twitch and YouTube, Digit, that's what they're called. I told the wife, I was like, I can just, so we do giveaways, we do little stuff like that. And I was like, I could just save that money for those months. And then you can't be mad if I just spend all that money on that. And she's like, yeah, do whatever you want. Right. It is a pretty good price, Fastcon. I work in some high performance compute stuff that I was telling you guys, I work on servers that they're anywhere between that's about 1U right there, 1.75 inches to about maybe like 4U. 4U is probably about here, and then maybe like 6U. And I work on servers that are 4U boxes that if I were to pull out and smash on the floor, they are worth over $450,000 what's in those servers. That much CPU, that right there with all the GPUs that are in it, is worth $450,000. Just on some of the racks I work on server. I think the biggest one I'm working on right now is 53 or 57 racks of servers. And just the AI, typically what we call the AI nodes, are the ones that are really just overpowered with all of their GPUs in them, and then we have all the CPU ones that are separate. Fastcon, they're pretty fun. Most of the time what I'm doing is like Ansible, and I'm setting up all the werewolf configurations, and I do a lot of the security stuff. I've told you guys that I do a whole lot of security stuff. Do we want to all right, hold on. I need to IO notify script. I don't use IO notify much, but I've seen a pretty good write-up that people do. So this is a way to do it, right? I do like when this will just drop it. I was going to look for one that was over on somewhere, but let's just grab this. This actually looks like it's close enough to what I want. Close enough to what I want. So, where are my teeth? Yeah. Glad you were here. Glad you were hanging out. You guys are always welcome to come or go as much as you want. So what I need to on this one, I'm not going to do this in this directory, but I am going to make sure that I remember the directory. Let's go root, and let's just make dir like I don't know, stream scripts, maybe. And in here, we're going to VI, let's do it, llama watcher, yeah, .sh is fine, and we're going to drop all that code in here. Now, the command we're going to do is, actually, we could drop a command here, or we can actually just execute whatever we want. So I'm going to comment this out. I'm not going to use the command like that. And I'm going to go ahead and comment that out because I don't want to use that. What I'm going to do instead is set my watchdir to data. Data, and then I wonder if I can do, I'm just going to do watch file because we're only going to watch one file. And the file, hold on. Stream right. stream right. File change. Don't want to do that. We're going to do other stuff in here. So we're going to have to strip out anything that we don't want. So those are going to be some sed commands. And then we're going to do a curl. So strip out strip out, well, for sure we want to strip out the ask, right? And then we're going to strip, then we're going to execute the curl command. By the way, white space is free, so you use as much white space as you want. And then what do I want here too? I want to execute the curl command. We're going to wipe eBPF interrupting system call. Yeah, that could be good. Yeah, I notify wait is a pretty cool little tool. It allows us to just watch a file or something, similar to like what all these different types of cool. There's me who hopped on that box. Subox. Oh, is that you on Rocky 5 earlier? Yeah, I saw Rocky 5 and then I saw SSH change. I don't know if that was you earlier on there, but it definitely messed me up because I'm like, I'm on this SSH, like the PID didn't look right, but no, that's funny. Hold on. So we want to execute the curl, and then we don't need to wipe the output file anymore, but we do need to wipe the input file. Let me see. Wipe the input file, which is I don't necessarily like the Does anybody know where that came from? Was anybody here at the this was the very first part of chat. I mean, it was good that worked though. That did work. Echo llama output to clear it. So wipe the input file. That's just going to be echo. I guess I can just do watch file is the full file, which is plum output. And then watch for events. We only want create modify. We do want modify, but we don't want that's going to be interesting. I'm curious if we just delete it, if it'll come back. I have to see the behavior of that. So this will be a good test real quick. Let's get rid of it real quick. Come over here. Trigger. Nope, wrong one. Trigger this guy. Action queues, actions, ask llama. And we need to... We're going to just test the trigger on this anyways. And when that's all done, does it right to the file. Today's the 16th. That's what it first looked at, and then it went to... Should have written out the file to llama output. Hmm. They should have for sure written out to that file. However, let's go. Let's just touch the file again. And we're gonna give 6. So it will be writable by this user, and then we're gonna kick that off again. The user's on my system. It's actually the test the trigger. Action Q, action history. We'll see it happen again. I was going through lab for the week 12. Nice. Well, if you were doing lab on week 12, oh yeah, I guess that's fine too. No, that's all good. Robedom, thanks for the resubscription. Robedom's been around a long time, 37 months, man. That's almost as long as I've been streaming. Almost as long as I've been doing all this stuff. Why did this one not queue? I definitely triggered. Well, now it's just getting weird. I mean, I don't have the queue paused. Oh. What? Did I spelled Samba wrong? Oh, yeah, I did. Samba. There we go. Alright. Now we try it. Apparently that queue just got jacked up. Can I re-trigger those? Test trigger. Action queue. Action history. Pending actions. I don't know why pending actions aren't sitting there since it's triggered. Resume the queue. Trigger. It should show up right here. There's no pending actions. I don't know why, but we're just gonna do it. Oh, that's 7764. I missed it. Screw it. Alright. I don't know why that would matter, but we'll give it exactly what the other one has. Test trigger. It's gonna run, it should run. It's completely stopped running for now. Alright, well. I don't have any reason why this wouldn't. Output spelled right. Spelled the same way. Let's go look at the data. Stream right. On output. Open with Notepad. Yeah, my user can open it. So my Samba user that comes from this box can open that file. It says I can read it and I can write to it. Let's go to just Notepad. That read and wrote to it. So it doesn't make any sense why the trigger fresh all triggers? I don't know. That's super weird. This has been working the last 2 days. Alright, well, screw it. I don't care. We have all that. Okay, well, I'll end up getting that going. But the point is, it should write into there. Then we would grab it, right? That's test. It's writing in there. We would grab it. We would execute the command from the other machine. And then we would see whatever the output was over here in our log system. So whatever people asked or whatever would show up in there. And just for fun, we would keep an eye on this, and you guys would be able to see the system. And I have it set to where you can only ask one thing a minute. So if people were asking a lot, I think a user can only ask every 5 minutes, but the chat in general can only ask every 1 minute. But apparently I got a little more work to do on that, so maybe I'll do that tomorrow. Tomorrow we're going to do our end of the week stream and just kind of hang out and do that kind of stuff. So probably call it here. We'll go hop on, and I got some more work to do for actual work and stuff. But yeah, I appreciate you guys all coming. I need to build my little end of stream thing. So like just kind of like our outro, because I don't have one. So we're just gonna go back to our intro again, which I think is funny. And yeah, I hope this stuff's useful to you guys. We're trying to do stuff that is fun and interesting, but also stuff that can hopefully get you guys a job if that's where you want to go. So let me go find somebody to raid on the Twitch side. Maybe somebody's doing something interesting. Let's see who I'm following over here. Let's go raid Kai. Kai is always doing fun stuff. He's playing games though, but we'll still raid him. If you guys want to raid over there, we'll do a raid message of, one of our, what is our little angry do all the Linux. All right. Take care, guys.